Let's make a square, rectangle-ish shape. And we'll come over and grab the spray paint. Anybody else used to do this? Drawing with MS Paint. This used to be one of my favorite things to do as a kid. Creating masterpieces like this. Probably why I love this shirt. Look familiar? Reminds me of the doodles I used to make on the computer. And speaking of doodles, like my segue there? Time for more Wreck This Journal entries. This time, you guessed it, the theme is doodles. So prompts that had me doodling things, basically. Enjoy. Doodle over top of this page and in the margins, which I thoroughly did. Was a little slow at first, but as I warmed up to the idea, I just went wild with it. And I kind of stuck to doodles that I've done my whole life. So eyeballs were always really popular. Smiley faces, I've always drawn. Flowers, especially this kind of hippie style. Ever since high school, the Sailor Moon symbols have always been a go-to doodle of mine. The food ones were inspired by the markers. The cherry was a cherry-scented marker. The lemon was a lemon-scented marker. But yeah, I really like how this turned out. It's kind of a commemoration of all the doodles that I used to do when I was in school. And then on this page, I filled it in, for no particular reason, with wrapping paper. This was a birthday wrap, so we're the princess. This was Christmas. That was Christmas. All of these wrapping papers were either on gifts from Bestie or from hubby and the younglings. Color outside of the lines. For this one, I went with a kind of fantasy theme, and it's all hand-drawn. Inside the line, this is the circle that came in the book with the prompt, I drew a girl, and it's all shaded in black and white and shades of gray, and then everything else outside is in color. I went with an under the sea kind of theme, so the circle became a porthole in a submarine, and the girl inside is watching as a mermaid swims by. Both the girl and the mermaid are done in sort of an anime style. I've been drawing anime characters since high school when I first discovered Sailor Moon, and I thought it lended to the fantasy feeling. And everything in color was colored in with pencil crayon, outlined in marker. The girl here was drawn and shaded with pencil. Pretend you were doodling on the back of an envelope while on the phone. This side of the page clearly could not be the back of the envelope, because anyone familiar with snail mail knows that the stamp goes on the front. But I couldn't leave this blank. So instead, I filled it with a drawing of a cartoon version of me holding an envelope and a pencil. And while contemplating what to doodle on the envelope, I am sitting literally on a phone. And since snail mail is considered old school, I thought I would give another nod to old school with the phone I am sitting on, which is, and sadly many of you lovelies won't even recognize this, this is an old school rotary phone. The other side of the page, I have drawn guidelines, so it's kind of recognizable as the back of an envelope. And then I went to town and filled this sucker. Now I don't get many phone calls, so instead of doodling on the phone, I doodled on YouTube. Hence, many of these references are to YouTube videos. Oh, and then I also have a couple here. I want to scratch my head so bad, and help, so itchy. Those are reminders that I was doing this, at least part of it, while recovering from my concussion last year? 2 years ago? Last year, I think. I forget. Anyway, so that's that page. I could go through and tell you what everything is, but that would probably need a video all to itself. So Let me know if you want me to walk you through all this. Otherwise, we'll just leave it like that. The challenge here was to scribble wildly, violently, with reckless abandon. When I started this page, or these pages, because I did both sides, I just put pencil crayon to paper and started scribbling with absolutely no end goal in mind whatsoever. I'm not sure if the words put me in the frame of mind or if it was a particular movie that I had recently watched, but whatever the reason, I ended up with pages that look eerily like the Joker, which is cool. Joker's one of my favorite villains. I think that was kind of interesting that that's the direction I ended up going, but I think this particular style is very fitting for the Joker. And wild and violent would definitely describe him. So, all in all, well done, Subconscious. I think this was a very successful journal entry. These are the doodles that I did over the instructions. Different sets of my signature swirls overlapping from corner to corner, and then coloring in where the lines overlap. These were colored in using Sailor Moon colors as inspiration. So this one is Sailor Venus, Sailor Jupiter, Sailor Mars, and Sailor Mercury. This was done in rainbow. And then to carry on the rainbow, I outlined the instruction arrow with a radiating rainbow. And these are the doodles on the, I think this is like the copyright page. I don't really remember. It's obviously covered. Some of these doodles had been doodled at different times in my life, and I liked them, so I cut them off the page and hung on to them. I'm kind of surprised that some of these survived as long as they had. That weirdly stylized Sailor Moon in a similar style to that couple and this girl, as well as that little chibi Sailor Moon, all came from my high school days. I have always been a doodler. Doodling has always helped me focus, as much as that sometimes annoyed various teachers over the years. We now know that it's a good thing and it's helpful and something that can be encouraged. This fairy and this little fairy and this design and the coffee fairy and this Sharpie pattern all came from my university days. This girl was drawn on my first aid book. Having been a lifeguard and then a nurse, I took a lot of first aid classes, and there was a point in my life where I could basically recite word for word the first aid textbook in my sleep. So I really needed help focusing. And I drew this girl on one of the books, and I really, really liked it, so I hung on to it. This was a character sketch. I was working on an original character for a cosplay. This was one of the ideas I had, sort of a artistic unicorn superhero. I didn't end up going that way for an actual costume, but I really liked her, so I cut her out and kept her in the book. I drew this girl for an Instagram challenge. It was supposed to be, I think, draw yourself as an animal. I found that too challenging, so I drew a cartoon version of me in an animal suit. And the penguins, I can't remember why this came about, but it was really cute. And penguins are the family mascot, so I hung on to that. Then there's just some other random little doodles, faces, hearts. These two were little doodles that became my tattoo. I like to doodle. There you have it. My Wreck This Journal doodle prompts. As always, I hope you found this entertaining and possibly even inspiring. I'll see you in another video for another installment very soon. Until then, stay fabulous. Bye.